Hello, friends, and welcome to Bible study. We are in the book of, we're in the NIV. We are in Bible study. We're in the NIV, and we're in Luke chapter 8. We're doing 22 to the end, which is 56. So let's jump in. Jesus calms the storm. Oh, no, sorry, we did that one. That was 22. We're doing 26 through. That's the previous video, if you wanted to hear the first part of the chapter. The healing of the demon-possessed man. Verse 26. They sailed to the region of, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, but again, Gerasenes, Gerasenes, however you would pronounce that, which is across the lake from Galilee. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from town. For a long time, this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but lived in the tomb. So he was just naked, running around a cemetery. And people left him there. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, don't torture me." There are days when, I'm not demon-possessed, but there are days when I feel like I'm saying that to God too. For Jesus, that's only because I'm melodramatic. For Jesus had commanded the evil spirits to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken the chains and had been driven by the demon out of the solitary place. Ooh. He asked him, so he was trying to repeatedly remove this demon, and it wasn't being removed. He was meeting resistance. So that's notable. Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "Legion," he replied, because many demons had gone into them. So, when one is, not that we are ever going to be doing, nobody but people who know what they're doing should ever, be, trying to get rid of demon possession. But, it is part of why you get to see that in the movies where they ask the demon the name, because Jesus asked the demon the name when it just didn't come out. Because if you command it by its name, in Jesus' name, it has to leave. All right, so Legion, he replied, because many demons had gone into them, and they begged him repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss. So they're trying not to get back into hell. And that makes sense to me, because I don't want to go there either. So why would they want to go back there? All right? A large herd of pigs was feeding on the hillside. The demons begged Jesus to let them go into them, and he gave them permission. So apparently Jesus was like, well, yeah, hell's not the place that you want to be. So, all right. When the demons came out of the man, they went into the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. Which should really just put them back in hell anyway. Just because their host that they were in died. When those tending the pigs saw what had happened, they ran off and reported it to the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they found a man sitting, whom demons had gone out of, sitting at Jesus' feet, dressed, and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people how the demon-possessed man had been cured. Then all the people of the region of Gerasenes, however you would pronounce that, asked Jesus to leave them because they were overcome with fear. So he got into the boat and left. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged to go with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return home and tell how much God has done for you." So the man went away and told all over town how much Jesus had done for him. That's good. So, but people fear what they don't know. If people can be afraid of Jesus, which my brain is just like afraid of Jesus, What are you doing when you're afraid of Jesus? Because in my brain, I'm just like, Jesus is, some people have that energy, right? Where animals and children and everybody just feel real comfortable around them. They know that they're safe. So, I mean, to me, Jesus' energy would feel like the most safe thing in existence. And we should all just want to sit at his feet and tell him how awesome he is and listen to his words and try to soak up as much of that love energy that would have been coming off of him. So if they can be afraid of Jesus, then, people can be afraid of anybody or anything that is new or scary to them. New can be scary for some people. We should remember that. They might not be as emotionally mature. And it's not, I'm not necessarily saying Jesus or no Jesus, although I do believe with Jesus you're going to get emotional maturity. Just emotional maturity comes with a choice. Spiritual maturity comes with a choice. One has to be ready to take care of the consequences for the actions they take. So it's just part and parcel of adulthood, I guess. A dead girl and a sick woman. Verse 40. Now when Jesus returned, a crowd welcomed him, and they were all expecting him. Then a man named Jairus, a ruler in the synagogue, came and fell to Jesus' feet, pleading with him to come to the house because his only daughter, a girl about 12, was dying. Oh. As Jesus was on his way, the crowds almost crushed him. Yeah, it's big. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. Many manuscripts, years. And she had been sent to all kinds of doctors. Like, she tried to go seek a medical cure. But no one could heal her. I'm unsurprised. There's a lot of, from real, like, modern day medicine, like real, because I'm not a doctor. Don't take my source for it. Just my own, knowledge from myself or people around you that, yeah, they would not have had the necessary medical knowledge to know how to fix that. So I'm surprised that she could have seen doctors and it didn't work. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. And immediately her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? Jesus asked. It's a good reminder that no matter who the person is or how generous they are, you don't have the right to touch or take from anyone. Ever. You really should ask permission. It doesn't mean you won't be forgiven, but you should ask for permission. If you don't actually say, I'm sorry, then you shouldn't really be expected to be forgiven. When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, people are crowding and pressing against you. Peter's like, this is not a reasonable question. But Jesus said, someone touched me, and I know the power has gone out of me. So he didn't consent, so he's not necessarily happy. Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told him why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. Because she was sorry. She admitted her guilt, and she was showing sorry. And he decided to forgive her. Because you do actually have to wait for someone to decide that they've forgiven you before you can decide all is forgiven for them. But we should be looking for reasons to forgive, not reasons to be angry. That's part of the love one another. While Jesus was still speaking, someone came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue ruler. Your daughter is dead, he said. Don't bother the teacher anymore. Hearing this, Jesus said to Jairus, Don't be afraid. Just believe, and she will be healed. When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he did not let anyone go in with him except Peter, John, and James, the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, all the people were wailing and mourning for her. Stop wailing, Jesus said. She's not dead, but asleep. They laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. Now, I should point out that these are another text, other verse. These are professional mourners, which is a thing in the Jewish culture. You could hire people with instruments and who are good at being sad and wailing and, doing all because they had their, it's melodramatic. Okay. And it's meant to be. It's meant to be. It's meant to be heartfelt, but it's also melodramatic. You're allowed to fully feel your feelings when you feel them and express them healthily to release them. And God says that's good. He's not saying stay strong silent. He does not like strong silent. We don't process that way. When they're in there, whether they're up here in the head or they're in here and they're in the heart, they need to get out. Think of it as like you got to excise the wound to express the toxins, right? Get the wound out to get the wash in to get it healed. It's very much so the same thing. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. It needs to come out. So these are professional mourners. Because if it were you and me, and somebody came into the house of our house, and we were grieving the death of a 12-year-old girl, and they said this, laughing would not be our response. Something a little bit stronger than laughing would be our response. Because you're talking about children and death. So it's not something to laugh at. But he took her up by the hand and said, "My child, get up." Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. And then Jesus told them to give her something to eat. Her parents were astonished, but he ordered them not to tell anyone. Fat chance of that. He says to a lot of people, don't tell anybody. But absolutely nobody listens to them. And I think that's because it's what he wants, to try to keep the things quiet. But what God wants is for the good news to go as far as possible. So, that's what happens. The will of God is always what happens, right? He's in control of everything. So he wanted the good news spread. So he wasn't listening to the humbleness of his son. He loves the humbleness of his son, but he also wants the light of the Holy Spirit, the light of Jesus, the light of God, because his God is light. I mean, it literally says so in the Bible. To be anchored and spread amongst the whole world. And that meant everybody needs to hear about Jesus. And they still do, right? I still need him every day. So, until a few minutes from now, friends, when we are in the book of Revelations.